Good afternoon. My name is Robert McIntosh, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the fantastic Anatomy Lecture Theatre of the University of Edinburgh. This room is rarely seen by the public, and I'm sure you'll agree it's great. It was built 130 years ago so that dead bodies could be dissected down here in full view of Edinburgh University's medical students. They no longer perform dissections here, but it is still a working medical lecture theatre. And today, I hope you'll agree, it provides a fitting venue for this talk, Bizzare Bodies, in which we're going to be trying a new kind of dissection of the human body, and of a less gruesome variety. So the human body in question is your body. Not the actual flesh and blood body that's occupying your seat at the moment, but rather its psychological counterpart. That is, the mental representation of your body that you hold in your head. Your sense of being in a body, of being a particular shape and size, in a particular place in space. Your sense of embodiment, or what I shall be calling your body sense. This body sense provides a fundamental, constant backdrop to our waking lives, and so we tend to take it for granted. And we'll talk about having 5 senses: vision, hearing, taste, touch and smell. And if anyone talks about a 6th sense, then they're usually referring to something supernatural that doesn't exist, like ESP or the ability to see ghosts. But what we're going to be talking about here is your body sense. And the kind of dissection we'll be undertaking is an analytical rather than a literal dissection. Okay. Neil, could you stop doing that, please? Thanks. So, before we get into the material, I should probably just have a bit of a disclaimer. I'm not a performer, I'm a lecturer at the University of Edinburgh. And this is a free show. This is a free show, and as you know, in the Fringe there are different sorts of free shows, right? There's the free shows and the free Fringe that you go along to, and at the end they get a big bucket out and they say, well, if you enjoyed this performance at all, maybe you'd like to give at least a tenner. And then there's another sort of free show which is actually free, so we're not going to be bringing a bucket out at the end, because this show is already funded, it's already paid for. It's supported by the British Psychological Society, the University of Edinburgh, University of Nottingham, and by Camera Obscura. And I'm being paid at the moment. I'm a university lecturer, and this is my job. Eddie, who's the technician, who's hopefully going to keep things running smoothly, he's being paid at the moment as well. The only people that aren't being paid are our postgraduate student helpers, who will be coming along to help with some of the demos, and who let you in. So do be nice to the student helpers. Okay, it's also a very technical show. It relies on demos, and there's a lot that could go wrong. And actually, the worst thing that could go wrong has already gone wrong. It went wrong last week. So, you might have seen in your Fringe brochure, the blurb says, 2 scientists will take you on a mind-blowing, body-bending tour. And here's the other scientist, my good friend and colleague and abscondee, Roger Newport from the University of Nottingham. Unfortunately, Roger's body can't be here today because it's having a nice relaxing time somewhere else. So it's just me. And that presents a bit of a problem because Roger developed all of the technology. He's the technical brains behind this entire show. But he's given me some rudimentary training, so we'll see what we can do. We had a technical rehearsal on Wednesday. I think it's fair to say it was an unmitigated disaster. Absolutely everything failed. And then yesterday, we had a performance, and miraculously, just about everything worked, so it could go either way today. Let's see what happens. Okay, I mentioned this to my good friend Peter Lamont, who does a lot of sort of Fringe events. I said, you know, Peter, Roger's dropped out. It's just me. It's going to be a disaster. But it's a free show, so it's all right, isn't it? And Peter was very reassuring. He said, Rob, there's no such thing as a free show. This is an hour of their lives they're never going to get back. Plus, the Fringe office charge a booking fee. So, with that in mind, let's get on with the content. Okay, so I'm a perceptual psychologist. That means I'm interested in how our brains take information from our sensory organs and through unconscious processes that we're mainly not aware of, build up a model of reality inside our heads that's good enough and accurate enough to guide our behaviour around the world. And as perceptual psychologists, we're interested in visual illusions. So we're the kind of people that go away on holiday and come back with holiday snaps like this. This is my daughter Alice in Pisa last year. And one of the reasons we like illusions so much is that they're a lot of fun. If you want to have fun with illusions while you're in Edinburgh, then you could go on to Camera Obscura and World of Illusions, which is at the top of the Royal Mile, and they've got 5 floors of exhibits of interactive illusions for you to experience and explore, including this, one of the only Ames rooms in the world. It's a really wacky room, a very bizarre shape, but when you look at it from a certain angle, it looks a completely regular shape, and you experience extreme distortions in your perception of size as you watch people walk around this room. People seem to grow and shrink, and you can have a lot of fun. Here's a couple of our first year from last year psychology students having fun, rather enforced fun in the Ames room. So they weren't too comfortable with the hug on the first pass, and so they went for a high five on the way back. They seem much happier with that. Okay, but the other reason that we care about illusions is because we believe that they can give us real deep insights into the way our unconscious processes of perception work. So our brains are incredibly good at building an accurate model of reality. But if we just study it, getting it right all the time, it's hard to learn very much except that they're incredibly good at what they do. Illusions are those special circumstances where the brain gets it wrong, where what the model that we build inside our head is systematically different from the reality out there. And by studying those cases where the brain makes mistakes, we can learn much more about the rules it must be using when it gets it right than the rest of the time. And when we do this kind of research, one of the primary rules that we come up with is not really very surprising. It's simplicity. The unconscious brain hates unnecessarily elaborate explanations, so it will always home in on the simplest account it can find for any given pattern of sensation reaching your sensory organs. So, for instance, in the Ames room, what is presented to the eye is completely compatible with a regular, square. You're forced to accept that these people are growing and shrinking as they move around it. Now that might seem a bit odd, but it's a lot more palatable to the unconscious brain than the extremely elaborate explanation that some devious psychologists went off and actually bothered designing and then actually building a room that has almost no right angles in it at all, that is specifically designed to look like a right angled room for one particular viewing position just to fool you. That's something that's so elaborate the unconscious brain won't even countenance it. If you want to find out how the Ames room is constructed, go into Camera Obscura and you can explore one of these rooms for yourself. But the point is that even once you know how it's constructed, even if maybe you built it yourself, when you look from a certain viewing position, you'll still get this impression. The illusion still works. It doesn't go away even once you know how it's done. And that's when you know you've got a really deep illusion. Okay, well, psychologists are so interested in illusions that every year there's a worldwide competition held to find the best new illusion. And people from all over the world submit their entries, their proposals for the best new illusion. It goes to a team of scientists who weed through these and come up with 10 finalists. And these 10 finalists then meet at a big conference in Florida, and they present their illusions, and the audience votes on the best illusion of the year. And 2 years ago, in 2012, the illusion was won by none other than our absent friend, Dr. Roger Newport, who won the crown of the best illusion of the year. Not him, but the illusion that he'd invented that works with this grey box here. Now, we're very used to seeing illusions. We're used to seeing illusions because most illusions are visual illusions, most illusions that we know about. And we're quite used to the idea that the eye can be deceived. But Roger's illusion is different because it's an illusion of body sense. It's a case where what you perceive about your body is systematically different from the reality of where your body is in space. Now that's really interesting, but it creates a problem for a show like this, because I'm unable to get you all to experience this illusion all at once. It's something, the best I can do is really to show you someone experiencing it on your behalf. So in a moment we're going to need to find a representative to come forward and experience some of these bodily illusions on behalf of the rest of the audience. You need certain qualifications for this job, okay? This is an important role. If it fails, the whole show's, we might as well go home. So, first of all, you need a decent pair of hands, a pair of hands that you're not ashamed of, a pair of hands that you don't mind showing to the whole university anatomy lecture theatre, such as your beautiful hands. Secondly, you need to be an honest and trustworthy person, okay? A reliable witness. We don't want some wise guy who's going to try and work out how it's all done and spoil the game. We just want someone who's willing to report on what their body sense is telling them, to share with people what it feels like. And third, it helps if you have a bit of an imaginative streak. Okay, so we want someone who's able to go along with a sensory experience and not rigidly analyse it too much. Now, I'm told that we can find if you've got this propensity for an imaginative streak with a simple imaginative exercise. So we're going to start off by doing that. I'd like everyone to hold their arms out in front of them and extend their hands. And now I want you to turn your left hand palm up. And now I want you to close your eyes. I want you to imagine that I am looping the string of a large helium balloon around the wrist of your right hand. And you can feel the helium balloon tugging at your right wrist because it wants to rise and float up to the ceiling of the Anatomy Lecture Theatre. So just feel the string of the helium balloon tugging gently on your right hand as it moves towards the ceiling. And in your left hand, I'm now going to come and place a household brick. Almost too heavy for you to support. So feel the weight of the brick pushing down your left hand. And alternately concentrate on the helium balloon pulling your right hand up and the heavy household brick pushing your left hand down. And concentrate on the helium balloon floating towards the ceiling. And now leave your hands where they are and open your eyes, and we'll see if we have any volunteers. Now, if you find that you have your right hand raised, and particularly if your right hand is raised considerably more than your left hand, then please leave your hand up. And in fact, you can raise it even more now. Now, any of you with your hand up who don't consider themselves to be a trustworthy and honest person should put their hand down now. Okay. Sebastian, you're a psychologist. Who do you think we should have?
This gentleman right here.
This gentleman right here. Okay, fine. Would you like to come down, sir? So, your name is?
John.
John. I'm Rob. Pleased to meet you, John. I should say, John, this box can mess around with time as well, so you might want to take it all. Now, what I'd like you to do is come and sit down here. Where are you from, John?
Edinburgh.
Is there anyone in from Edinburgh? Yes! Well, I love the diversity of the Fringe crowd. Okay, so just come and sit at this box, and what we need you to do is we're going to push you up to the box so that just close enough you can get to the forehead doesn't slam into the box, and just keep your hands on your back for the moment. I'm going to turn this microphone on so that we can hear what you're saying, because I'm going to be asking you some questions about what things feel like. And I want you to just try and give an honest report of the sensations that you're having. Okay? Now, Eddie, I need to advance this. Eddie's going to provide a view over your shoulder. That's not me. That's what's coming out of the camera. I pressed the wrong button.
That's a good start, isn't it?
Good. Okay, so Eddie's going to try and give you a view over John's shoulder so that you can see more or less what John's able to see. You got that? Okay, and Eddie's going to have to stand like this for about 5 minutes. Feel for it. Okay, John, so I'd like you just to slide your hands into this box in front of you. Okay, just slide them along a little bit. Excellent. Okay, so these are your hands, yes? Okay, you want to move just a little bit forward? Okay, so these are your hands. These are my hands. So we actually want enough space to get both of us in just to begin with. I'm going to put my hands in the box as well. Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay. And what I'm going to ask you to do to begin with is just a simple kind of copying game, just to get used to being inside the box. Okay? So, I'm going to turn my hands over like this, palm up. And for you, I'm going to give you a little foam ball to cut from your right hand. Okay? And then I'm going to give you a simple movement to do. So when I say knock 3 times, close your fists, turn them over, knock 3 times, turn them back, and open them again. Okay? Knock 3 times. Both fists. Yep, turn them over, and open them again. Perfect. Okay? Do that again. Knock 3 times. Okay? Turn them over and open. Knock 3 times. Okay? One is multiplying. Knock 3 times. with this index finger? You like this finger? This is definitely your finger, right? Okay, because you can feel me touching you there. Can you feel me touching you here? No. And why is that? Okay, because I'm not the end of your finger, right, so you're blaming me. Well, maybe it's that your finger is not long enough. We could try and do something about that. So, this might feel a bit strange, John, okay? Don't worry, definitely safe. I need to just hug the end of your finger. You should be able to stretch your finger so that you can touch it right out here. Yeah? Okay? Give that a while. Now, how do you like your new finger?
Wow, good. You do that with that.
We probably may do that with the rest, but we haven't got time. So, does this feel like your finger?
Yeah.
Does it look like your finger?
No.
Do you want to waggle it around a little bit? Does it definitely feels like yours, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, would you like us to leave it like that, or do you think we should return it to its former size?
Oh no, I need it back.
You need to match the other ones, okay? Now, this bit is a little bit more difficult. You might have to hold your hand very steady, like you're going to have to apply some force to compress it back in, okay? Just hold your hand steady and just push it. Is that about right? Okay, yeah, it looks a bit more like it's a malformed toe. Tell you what. How about that? Is that about right?
I'm not sure now.
It's actually hard to remember how long your finger was. Maybe just a little bit shorter. Maybe just a little bit. I think that's about right. Does that feel normal?
No.
You kind of lost sense of how long your finger was.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, now you've got your finger back, how would it feel if we gave you another one? So now you've got two right hands, okay? Of course, you haven't actually got two right hands. Only one of these is your real right hand. But which one is it? You need to start moving to know. So maybe if I give you just a slow beat and you were to tap your index finger along with the beat. Which is your real hand? The one on your right. Are you sure about that?
No, it's not.
The one on your left. You sure? Okay, and we can go on doing that all day. In fact, neither of these are your real hand. Your real hand somewhere underneath that. Excellent. So, now maybe slide both your hands into the box again. And we want these in a nice symmetrical position. Now, we've got quite big hands, if I may say so. That's a good thing. But it's going to make this more difficult for you, okay? Because you're going to have to make your hands fairly small. And this next exercise is an exercise in postural control. So I'm going to ask you to make your hands quite small, tuck your thumbs in, and I want you to hover your hands up and your elbows up so you're not touching the box. You need to hover your hands in the air, okay? And your job here is to keep your hands perfectly still. And you need to keep them still in between these blue bars, okay? And that's going to get more difficult because the blue bars are going to start squeezing towards you. And your job is just to keep your hands still in between those blue bars. Don't let the blue bars overlap your way. It's good, just keep them nice and still. Excellent. And now you can put your hands down. Okay. Now, it's important you keep your hands still at this point, John. Okay? In a moment, what I'm going to ask you to do is take your left hand and just place it on top of your right hand. Okay? So take your left hand and place it on top of your right hand. On the count of 4. Okay? So when I count to 4, place your left hand on top of your right. I'm going to make that more difficult for you, so we're going to make your right hand disappear. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. How does that feel?
Strange.
What's happened?
The right hand.
The right hand has disappeared. Why not take your hands out of the box and So, your right hand disappeared.
Yeah.
Where did it feel like it had gone to? Did it feel like you had the right hand? Yeah. But where was it? That's the right answer, by the way. So now you've got your right hand back, you wouldn't like it to go away empty, so please choose an envelope. Excellent. Thank you very much for your help. So we did a number of sort of tricks there, a number of illusions, but it was that last one that won the Illusion of the Year 2012 in Florida. And you may not be surprised to learn that that is called the disappearing hand, for obvious reasons, okay? And its disappearing hand has now been done on thousands of people, and it almost always works, okay? I've seen it fail once. And the range of reactions you get, well, they go right from sort of curiosity through surprise, to baffled wonder, and then a whole variety of different flavours of hysteria. So, John, where would you say you were on this scale?
Between curiosity and surprise.
Somewhere between about 1.5 on our scale. That's not too bad. This woman here, who's displaying baffled wonder, is so wonderful that I think it would be a shame not to share Emma's baffled wonder with you. So this is what baffled wonder looks like in Emma's case.
Oh my goodness!
So the range of reactions you get, they look like, a lot like the sort of reactions you get to a good magic trick. And it's obvious why that should happen. This has a lot of the flavour of kind of a magic trick about it. But magic tricks tend to be, secrets that are closely guarded by a close circle of specialists. Whereas as scientists, we believe that an illusion actually gains in value once you understand how it's working. And so the rest of this talk is going to be this kind of dissection of the disappearing hand, by which I mean I'm going to be trying to unpack and expose the key principles of body sense that allow this illusion to work. That is, we're going to be trying to understand how and why the hand disappears. And so we could start off by saying, well, what happened to John there was that for a moment at least, he didn't know where his hand was. And so his brain was forced to conclude that it had disappeared. And so we could turn that around and say, well, maybe the normal experience of having a hand or an arm or a body depends upon knowing where it is in space. Well, how do we do that? Well, who better to turn to for guidance than the President of the United States as we consider the modern parable of Obama and the fly.
That's the most persistent fly I've ever seen. Nice.
Just the kind of military precision you might want from your commander-in-chief. May have won him a few Republican votes, I think. What sensory information was available to Obama in neutralising the enemy fly? Okay, well, first of all, he had posture. So we know we've got internal organs embedded in our muscles, tendons and joints that tell us about our current posture. So he knew what position, posturally, his arm was in. Secondly, there's touch. So the fly crawling across the skin of his hand allowed him to be sure that the fly was on his hand and not on someone else's hand. And very importantly, it drew his visual attention to that patch of skin. And now vision is involved, and vision is extremely good at localizing things in space. And so he was able to direct his attention to that skin, see it, and localize it with pinpoint precision in order to neutralize the enemy fly. So you can see that body sense here is not just one sensory channel, and it's not just something that you passively receive. It's something that the brain needs to build up or triangulate from these three sensory sources. So that's the first principle there. Body sense is triangulated. It's inferred, it's built up from these three sensory sources. And you don't just do this once. You don't just construct your representation of your body once. You need to be doing it all the time. So the second key principle is that this body sense is always updating. You're always reconstructing the position of your body inside your head. And there's obvious reasons you need to do that. Firstly, you're moving around all the time. So every time you change posture, you need to update the representation of how your body's positioned. And every time you move around the world, your relationship to the things in the external world changes. Now, why do we need to know where we're positioned with respect to the external world? So it's obviously so that we can interact with that world effectively. If I didn't know where I was in relation to this bottle of water, I wouldn't be able to reach out and pick it up. And so we need to know where our body is on the same map as all the visual things that we can see out there that we're currently not in contact with. And so it's critical to keep our sense of our body's position co-registered with our visual map of the external world. And any time that starts slipping out of alignment, we need to bring it back into alignment. So there's a constant process of updating and realigning the body in relation to the world to keep behaviour on target. And we can demonstrate this process of flexible alignment of the body with the world with the right shaped piece of glass. So in the picture I show here, what you see is a wedge prism. The prism is just bending the light, so anything that you look at through the prism is shifted off, apparently to the right. These glasses are the same. So you can have a look at these glasses and pass them around a little bit. If you just have a look through and sort of put your finger up, you can see the same as on that picture, it's just shifting things out to the right. So we need a volunteer to demonstrate this process of alignment. And we need a volunteer who's good at throwing. So is there anyone here that is good at throwing? Maybe you're okay. We've got one person who's good at throwing. If you're the only person good at throwing, then so please come on down. Great. Okay. So your name is? Jack. Hi, Jack. So we're going to ask you to do some throwing, Jack. So first of all, we're going to check that you can throw accurately. So I'm going to ask you to stand down about here, and I'm going to be your target. Okay? And not me myself. I'm going to wear your target on my head. In tribute to the Glasgow Commonwealth Games, I'm using a that I found on the way here yesterday. There was actually a red and white one, but it wasn't my size. So I've got this kind of sawn off, filthy yellow one, which I'm going to be wearing. And your job is to take those foam balls one at a time. So you need to start off with your hand above your head and just try and throw it and hit the cone. Excellent. Okay, so now we know you're accurate. Okay? So, just pause a moment. Can we get the glasses now? So, could I ask you to put these glasses on?
You can't cheat by looking at
Now, what I need to tell you, Jack, is that
Good look.
these glasses are going to mess with your vision, okay? These glasses are going to make you miss. So don't try and think it out. Don't try and sort of consciously correct for it. We want to see the unconscious process happening. So just throw where your eyes are telling you to throw. Okay, just go with what you'll see.
and don't look at your hand.
Okay? Okay, now you've got plenty of time to practice. Keep them coming. Sebastian will gather them up. Next ball boy. Okay, still going to be right. Keep them coming, keep them coming. You need to get lots of information on the errors you're making. So keep the balls coming. Hit me. Come on, hit me.
Go on. Up.
Keep them coming. Now, you're advancing my presentation. Don't advance it to the end. Keep them coming. Okay, you're going to have to speed up. No, not the ball, just the razor. Okay, you're slowly getting more accurate. So what's happening is that your brain's working out that there's this errors too far to the right, and slowly managed to realign the body map with the visual map so that he was on target again. And then, of course, we undid all that realignment by taking away the original visual distortion, and now he's making errors way too far out to the left. So, we've seen the body sense flexibly readjusted in that short space of time. Now, this isn't something special that only happens when you put a pair of prisms on. This is something that you're actually doing all of the time. It's just that we put the prisms on so we could magnify the process, so we could all see the big errors that they would cause. But actually, we're doing this kind of thing all the time. Every time we detect that our movements didn't go exactly where we expected them to go, then we detect that error and we just tweak our body sense and re-update it so that we can get our behaviour back in alignment with external alignment. Okay, so we need constant feedback on our performance. We need constant feedback on whether our actions are accurate or not. And if we didn't have that, then our body map would just drift away from the visual world. We'd come away from our external moorings and would be completely rubbish. But even worse than having a lack of information about how accurate your actions are would be having bad information about how accurate your actions are. And so that's what we're going to try next. We've got another demonstration. We need another volunteer, someone who thinks they have reasonable hand-eye coordination, and someone who doesn't mind failing in front of a large audience. And ideally, it would be someone who found themselves swayed by our imagination exercise earlier on. So do we have someone with... Okay, well, you're right in the middle of a row, but your hand went up first, so if you can get out, then you're our woman. And your name is? Elizabeth. Excellent. And where are you from, Elizabeth? Edinburgh. Is anybody from Edinburgh? Northeast. Yeah, you see diversity. Right. Do have a seat. Okay. So we've got a simple hand-eye coordination task here. Okay? I'm going to demonstrate it first, and then I'm going to ask you to do it. So, I'm going to put my hands on these outer spots, and I'm just going to move between the spots. And I'm going to say my simple mantra. My body is inside my head. My body is inside my head. Okay? Could you do the same?
My body is inside my head. My body is inside my head.
Excellent. Okay. And you can leave your fingers where they ended up, just so we can all appreciate what excellent hand-eye coordination you have. Great. Okay. Now, move your fingers to the outer spots again. I'm going to ask you to do the same thing again, but now I'm going to give you bad information about where your left hand is, okay? Because I'm going to place a mirror down the midline here, okay? And I'm going to ask you to have a look around this side of the mirror. So I want you to place your head on the right-hand side of the mirror and look into the mirror.
Okay.
So what do you see in the mirror?
My hand.
Your hand. Does it look like your left hand?
Yeah.
Okay. Good, because it's in a symmetrical position and your hands are very symmetrical, so it looks like your left hand, and your brain will treat it as your left hand.
Oh my God.
Now, for the audience, you want to watch what Eddie's putting on the big screen here. So this is Elizabeth's view of her two hands. We're going to ask you to perform the task again and to concentrate on the reflection in the mirror. Okay? So, away you go.
My body is inside my head. My body is inside my head.
Okay, so stop your hands there. How does it feel that you're doing?
Okay.
Yeah, it feels fine. You're on the spot, right? So, of course it felt that you were doing fine, because we were giving you information, we were giving you visual information that told you your hand was on the spot. Okay? So it felt that you were doing fine, felt you were perfectly accurate. In fact, your posture was drifting away from reality incredibly quickly. What this tells you is that when there's a conflict between different sources of information, if vision is involved, vision is going to win. Vision is going to dominate. Okay, most of the time, our touch and our posture and our vision, they're telling us all the same thing, so there's no problem. In this case, we've made the vision tell you a lie about where your right hand is, not your left hand. But your brain can't help but be dominated by the visual information. Okay? So, we've got a principle here of visual dominance. If there's a conflict between posture and vision, vision is more strong. Vision is going to win out. Now, what happens if we put vision and touch together? we can get them to conspire to make you reach other conclusions about your body, if that's okay. So, what I'm going to demonstrate now, I hope, is something called the rubber hand illusion, again, for obvious reasons. This was first reported, at least, in 1998, and it's since become one of the most popular illusions in psychology. So some of you will have seen a rubber hand illusion before. Have you seen a rubber hand illusion before? Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do is place your left hand just sort of over this spot here. And what we're going to do is place a rubber hand, a little bit smaller than your hand, next to it. Now, I would like you to make your left hand posture as close as possible as you can. Yeah, so it looks kind of like the rubber hand. All right. Then I'm going to put this occluding screen in the way. Okay. So now, I'll just bring this over here so you can't see the join. So now your real hand is out of sight, and hopefully out of mind as well. And we want you just to concentrate visually upon the rubber hand. Sebastian is now going to begin stimulating you, okay? And he's going to stimulate the rubber hand at the same time. How does that feel?
Yeah.
What are you experiencing?
I can feel and touch my left hand.
You can feel the touch of your left hand. Okay. Okay. Does it feel at all unusual?
No. I look exactly.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you some leading questions.
Okay.
Does it feel like you're feeling the touches that are being applied to the rubber hand?
Yes.
It does?
Yes.
Okay, so in some sense you feel connected to that rubber hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you go so far as to say as it felt like the rubber hand was your hand?
No.
No. But you feel some level of connection to it?
I suppose so, yeah.
So these are just verbal responses. So Elizabeth's reporting that she's feeling, it feels as if the touches that are being applied to her actual hand are coming from the rubber hand. And this again is an instance of kind of visual capture. So what she's seeing matches exactly what she's feeling. The simplest interpretation for her brain is that they must be the same event. So she must be feeling those touches applied to the rubber hand. Now we can ask her about that, or there are more objective and possibly objectionable ways that we could find out whether she really does feel connected to the rubber hand. How do you think you would feel if someone suddenly attacked you? With a mallet, for instance. Obviously, it's always going to be surprising if someone appears with a mallet from nowhere and slams the table in front of you. But in formal experimental situations, and there have been lots of experiments done on this kind of thing, you can measure subjects' level of surprise and physiological arousal by measuring the amount that their skin is sweating, their galvanic skin response. And what you find is that when people are experiencing a rubber hand illusion, their galvanic skin response is just as high as if you threaten their real hand. So it really seems that the brain has incorporated the rubber hand as part of the person's body. You weren't even experiencing the full rubber hand illusion, but I think maybe you felt a little more connected to the rubber hand. Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much indeed, Elizabeth. Choose an envelope.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, so these two demos give us a couple more important principles of body sense. So, first,
Just press the PC button.
yeah. Okay. So first of all, the spot pointing demo tells us that vision trumps posture. So in this kind of triangular body sense, it's not all equal. Vision really is at the apex. Vision is more powerful when it's available for most of us than posture is, because it's just better, it's more reliable most of the time. Vision's very good at localizing things. So if you've got vision and posture telling you different things, who are you going to believe? Your reliable friend or your unreliable friend? So vision tends to win it. Particularly, it trumps postural information all the time. So we see our hands somewhere, that's where we feel them to be. And the next principle is that if we see something happen and we can feel it at the same time, then it feels like it's us. And this, of course, is how Obama knew that the fly was crawling across his hand. He could see the fly move across the skin, and he could feel at the same time a matching pattern of touches to his skin. So he knew the fly was on his skin. This is very much what was happening in the rubber hand situation. So, see it, feel it, own it. Sounds like a cheesy slogan for fur coats or luxury carpets or something. But it points out the important role that touch has in this sense of ownership of something being part of your body. Because your brain, of course, knows that the only bits of the world that have got your touch receptors in are your body. So if you're feeling touches applied to something, it has to be your body, even if it doesn't look like what you're used to your body looking like. Vision doesn't have to be involved in this. You can do it other ways. In the Fringe program, it mentions that this show would help you grow a long nose. Well, that may have been a lie. There isn't time to do this demo in detail, but I'm just going to ask Sebastian and Megan to come and demonstrate a kind of version of the rubber hand that can be done without any visual involvement at all. And this is something that you could take home and try with a couple of close friends or family members in the privacy of your own home. So, okay, so Megan needs to stand here facing forward. Sebastian needs to close his eyes and give me his index finger. Megan can do what she likes as long as she doesn't move her nose. And what I'm going to do is take Sebastian's index finger and touch Megan's nose with it, and stroke Megan's nose with it, and at the same time begin touching Sebastian's nose and stroking it in the same pattern. Now Sebastian's got coherent stimulation between what he's doing and what he's feeling. And so what conclusion do you think his brain might be reaching if he's reaching out and touching a nose and feeling those touches in his nose, but his hand's a good 1.5 feet in front of his face? It may feel like his nose is about this long. Okay? Thanks very much. So this Pinocchio illusion works some of the time, right? It works for about a third of people. A third of people just go, nah. It depends very much upon the skill of the person applying the touches. The touches have to be perfectly synchronized. The same with the rubber hand illusion. The rubber hand illusion works in about 2/3 of people. And it depends very much upon the skill of the person wielding the paintbrushes. They've got to be perfectly synchronized or matching. If there's any discrepancy between the touches in the rubber hand and the real hand, then the person just immediately knows it's not their hand that the rubber hand is not their hand. It's also entirely passive, so it's not like real life. So in real life, you're able to move your own hands all the time. In the rubber hand illusion, you have to keep your hand perfectly still. It has to stay as still as the rubber hand. If you move your hand and the rubber hand doesn't move, then you instantly know it's not your hand. And the spell is broken. All of these problems are solved, however, in this body box that Roger Newport created. And so what we're going to do now, that we've got these 4 principles in place, is go back to these illusions I showed you earlier, but this time I'm going to commentate them and tell you all how they're working, including the disappearing hand trick. So we need someone to come down and experience these illusions again, but to have them commentated on, if you like, to have it explained how it's working. Okay, well, you had your hands up the first time round, so why not come down and help us? Excellent. And what's your name? Ella. Right. You're going to need the chair a little bit higher. So just come and sit up at the box so that your forehead's about level with it. That's probably right. Okay, I'll set you up close to the box so that you're looking in the box. Okay. So to begin with, can I just ask you just to slide your hands into the box? Okay. So these are your hands, yeah? You've got those on the screen, Andy? Yeah. Okay. So you can give them a waggle, and you can feel when I touch your hands, yeah? Okay. So that's most of the illusory work done right there. Okay? So what's actually happening here is that Ella has accepted as her hands something that is not, in fact, her hands. So you might see that your hands look a little bit odd, they look a little bit greyed out. She's actually watching a real-time video feed of her hands. It's been displayed on a monitor up here that's upside down, and she's viewing it in a mirror here. And so optically it appears to be at the level of this floor down at the bottom here. And so we've got a situation where Ella's looking into the box and she's watching real-time film of her hand projected to the exact location where she feels her hand to be. And so it feels just like her hands. And everyone accepts, when they put their hands in this box, they accept ownership of those hands. But that's a really, really critical step because we've instantly got the brain. Straight away, we've got to where the rubber hand illusion was going. We've got someone to accept something as their body, which is not in fact their body. And once we've done that, then we can start messing with their head, okay? So, if you take your left hand away and make your right hand into a fist. Now you've got wonderful long fingers already, so if you give me your index finger, we should be able to get a really good stretch on your index finger. So point your index finger out towards me, okay? And now, what I can do is touch the end here. And when I touch it, you feel it touch. And that's it's see it, feel it, own it. It reinforces the sense that that's definitely your index finger. And then, I take hold of your index finger, and you can feel me pulling on it, okay? And at the same time that I'm pulling, so that you're feeling that traction, I'm just elongating the video image, so that your finger stretches longer and longer. Okay, we've got a really nice long finger there. And now you can feel it out here. It's in fact in exactly the same place that it was before, we just stretched the image. But what you're looking at is a long finger feeling touch at the end of it. And it's not passive, so you can tap that finger, and it moves when you move. And when it's touched, you feel the touch. So even though your fingers never looked like that before, does it still feel like your finger?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this tells us, again, that the importance of the synchrony. So the fact that the finger moves when your finger moves is what's telling you that it's your finger. And that's what we were playing with earlier when we split the hand into two. One of these, we put a delay on. So if you tap your fingers, just nice and slowly, one of these is a tapping in time with your hand. And so that feels like your real hand. It's harder to tell the difference if you move really fast, but if you move nice and slowly, you can see that one of them's in time with your hand. Now, our sense of posture is not that good. Our sense of posture can't tell the difference between a hand being here and a hand being there. But our sense of our ability to judge time and synchrony is very good. So whichever hand is keeping time with your hand appears to be your hand. And we can switch that around. So we can switch it from one hand to the other. And whichever hand is moving with your hand, that's the one that you're going to own. Okay, and then we can put it back. Okay, so what about the disappearing hand trick? I think we've got time to do the trick and then explain the trick. So would you like to have a go at the disappearing hand trick? Okay. So put your hands in the box again. Now, you'll remember that this is just a test of your ability to control your posture. So first of all, you need to hover your hands up a little bit, and your elbows too. Okay. And bring your thumbs in, just about an inch above the surface there. Okay, and then we ask you to hold your hands still in between these blue bars. And we slide the blue bars in towards you. So we give you less and less space to hold your hands still in. Your job is just to try not to let the blue bars overlap your hands. Okay, but hold them nice and still. That's great. Okay, and then you can put your hands down. And I'm going to ask you to keep your hands very still. And then, with your left hand, your job is to just take that hand and place it on top of your right hand. Okay? On the count of 4. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. How does that feel? Okay, so take your hands out. Okay, they're both still there. And of course they were there all the time. So shall we see how that was done? So let's go back in. So I'm just going to, so you can just put your hands in the box and put them between the blue bars. That's great. So what we've got video images of the hands. Now, the first thing that I ask Ellie to do is to take her hands off the surface and her elbows away from the box. So we've got rid of touch information that would tell her if her hands move along the box or on the surface of the floor. And that's quite important. And then we ask her to keep her hands still in between those blue bars. So the blue bars are really just a decoy or a distraction. What's actually happening during that period that the blue bars seem to squeeze inwards is that we're just drifting the video images of the two hands and bringing them slowly together to overlap one another. Now, vision trumps posture. So Ellie's looking at her hands, and she's trying to keep her hands still. Visual information on location is much more trustworthy in the normal world than postural information. So what she's doing is keeping them visually still. And to do that, she's slowly moving her hands outwards and outwards and outwards. So at the end of a 20-second period, she ends up sitting like this, and she believes that she's sitting like this. She doesn't notice that she's doing it because the change is so gradual. It's the apocryphal boiling of a frog. A very gradual change is not noticed. In fact, if you just have to keep your hands still in the air, you're going to make small postural adjustments all the time. And the adjustments that Ellie's making from moment to moment are just within that normal range. They don't feel odd at all. But they're all in the same direction. So she ends up like this, believing she's like this. She thinks she should be able to find her hand just here. But because she's positioned like that, she can't. She can even go twice as far as she thinks, and she still won't find her hand. The hand can't be located, and so the brain concludes that temporarily the hand must have vanished. So let's try this one more time. Now you know the trick, okay? So raise your elbows up, and keep your hands still as we move the Bizzare. And Eddie should be able to show it from my point of view here. In fact, I'll move right up to the way. Contrast not very good. Okay, can you see that Ellie's hands are getting further and further apart? Does it feel like your hands are getting further apart? Because I told you, didn't I? Okay, so now you're concentrating on your posture. Okay, so we put your hands down, and now on the count of 4, put your left hand on top of your right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Alright, so I was going to say the illusion works even when you know how it works, but Ellie just put her left hand right. Okay, so let's just think about that then in terms of our triangle of body sense. We've normally got posture, we've got touch and vision. What's happened in the disappearing hand is that posture has been completely dominated by vision. It's been completely overwhelmed. So that postural information that's telling you that your hands are at here has been totally ignored. So posture has been removed from the picture, basically. Vision is in total charge here. And then we fade away the video image, so your visual information is gone as well. And then the killer blow is when you reach across to touch where you know your hand must be, and you don't get any touch feedback. Your touch tells you your hand isn't there. So touch is gone as well. So all 3 corners of this triangle of body sense have been removed. And so the triangle can't exist. And temporarily, for a few moments, the brain just can't construct a representation of that hand. It's removed from your body sense. And literally the hand has disappeared from your head. It's not represented as being anywhere, at least for a few moments. Okay. So that's the disappearing hand. And that's an example of the kind of manipulations we can do once we understand the principles of body sense. So I hope this hour has been diverting. I hope it's given you some flavour of the current psychological understanding of where we get this sense of being in a body in a particular place at each point in time. And my main aim really is just to get you to stop and think about something that we normally take for granted, which is this sense of embodiment, this sense of being in a body. We know that we've got internal senses that tell us about our posture, and so that might make us think that we've got some kind of special direct line to our own body, that we could be wrong about things in the outside world. We couldn't possibly be wrong about our own body because, after all, it's us. There's one thing we know for sure, it's about us. But I hope I've persuaded you with these demonstrations that really the way we know about things in the external world and the way we know about things in our own body is not really any different. It's not fundamentally any different. It's just your brain's best current guess based on the available sensory information. So just like the rest of the external world, your body really is inside your head. Okay, that's about it. However, I should just say that I'm really aware of the limitations of trying to present these bodily illusions to a large audience when really only one person can experience them. And to get the full power of them, you need to really experience them firsthand, so to speak. So, if you want to experience them, there's 3 ways that you could do that. First of all, we're going to have, from October the 8th, we're going to have a permanent version of this body box installed at Camera Obscura, so you can go along there and experience some of these yourselves. During the Fringe, we're going to have some students with this exact machine and myself at Camera Obscura just for some odd sessions. So if you're in Camera Obscura at the right time, you might sort of get, do you want to come over here and have your fingers stretched? But also, I'm sure many of you have got other places to be. If any of you have the time and the patience right now, then you're welcome to line up down these left steps down here, and Megan will be happy to stretch your fingers for you. So, thank you very much indeed to the student for helping Sebastian, Megan, and Lizzie outside. Thanks to Ray for keeping things running smoothly. And thanks very much to all of you for coming. I hope it's been worth an hour of your lives.